What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another week and another episode of Unscripted, where we bring you conversations from professionals from all walks of life. We touch on their backstory, their mindset, and how they navigate through adversity and opposition. I'm your host, Akeem Haynes. Before we get into this week's episode of Unscripted, do us a huge favor. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Apple iTunes and leave a rating and review of the podcast. Share with us your thoughts. Share with us some guests that you would like to have and hear on the show. Let us know. Your support goes a long way in growing the podcast and helping it move forward. So we appreciate you in advance for taking the time to do so. So with that being said, let's get into this week's episode of the show. And this week we have a solo session. But first and foremost, I hope everybody's doing well. You know, it's crazy how it's June already, and it just seemed like 2021 came here not too long ago, but here we are. And it's just crazy to know that life is always moving forward. And it is up to us to do our best to move forward with it in a positive manner, but most importantly, making sure that we are intact mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. You know, it's been a little bit since I've done a solo session. You know, we have some great guests that have came on the podcast so far, and we have some more great guests that are about to come in the future. So I want to give a big shout out to my guests. I appreciate each and every single one of them for giving me their time. You know, today's topic kind of stems from something that I've recently just been watching. You know, usually at this time, I would be getting ready for another run at the Olympics. And this is championship season, trial season for most countries, with the exception of a few who had their Olympic trials maybe in February or March or so. But it's Olympic season, it's Olympic trials, right? In order to get to the Olympics, you have to make the team. And this is where this conversation comes from. I was watching USA trials this past weekend, and, you know, some of the people that I mentor were competing there, and some of the people I used to compete against, and just seeing the reaction of first-time Olympians. And they have done a great job, NBC and USATF, of, you know, just catching as much of the events across the board as they can. But what I really like is how well they are letting the athletes speak after their performance. You can see their sheer emotions. You can see the tears. You can see the hard work. You can see the discipline. You can see everything through their responses. But that's one light. And there's more to the story. Because for every person who makes the team, for every person who accomplishes their dream, there is someone else that didn't. And that's tough. And so in many times in our lives, I think there has been a moment where we have posed ourselves with the question or statement, now what? Now what? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Maybe something good has happened, right? Maybe that breakthrough has come. Something you've been praying for finally came your way, and it came. And then you're like, oh, okay, perfect. This is beautiful. But now what? Or maybe on the other hand, right, you're working towards something and adversity comes your way and you get set back and you get delayed and you're not sure what is going to come next, and you're faced to ask yourself the question, now what? You see, I've been on both ends of those spectrums. I know exactly what that feels like. I know the ups, and trust me, I know the downs very well. But I think that's a question and a statement that we all come to ask ourselves. Now what? Now, it's not meant to be anything negative. It's just a question, a realization of where do you go from here? What happens next? Because no matter if you fall or you climb the mountain, there's more to come. There's more on the way. And so you have to ask yourself, what happens when I get exactly what I've been praying for? What happens when I've been preparing each and every single day for the opportunity? What happens when I've been putting in the work and staying disciplined, controlling my controllables, and doing everything that I can for the opportunity that I'm not sure when it's going to come? But then when it does come, now what? And what if it doesn't come as quickly as you think it should? What if it takes a little bit longer than you anticipated? What if it's not packaged exactly how you thought it should be? What if it doesn't look like how you thought it should or would? Now what? It's such a great question. And I've asked myself that and said that to myself on so many different times. At the Olympic Games, because people always ask me, what did it feel like to get the medal? What did it feel like when you're standing on the podium and you're hearing the anthem playing? Like, what did that feel like? And it's one of those things where I'm probably maybe about 10, 15 years, I'm going to look back and I'm going to say, wow, that was a great moment and time in my life. But to be quite honest, when I was standing on the podium, I was thinking about, well, now what? Like, what comes after this? And so I wasn't necessarily taking time to enjoy the moment, but I was thinking about, man, I can't wait to go back and share this moment with everybody else. Okay, let's flip it around. And we're going to stay on the same transparency as I've always done in my life, as I've always done on here with everybody that listen. When I first started speaking and I stepped away from track and field, even though I had a record of speaking, I didn't know anything about the business per se. And so it was challenging because here I was just retired from being on one of the most elite levels in sports. And I was about to start over from scratch all over again. And I remember sitting down at my table one night and just thinking to myself, okay, well, now what? Like, where do we go from here? And eventually I put the pieces together and I was able to make some headway, and each year I progressed and progressed. But you know what's funny about those times when you ask yourself, now what? Where do you go from here? Is the best thing that you can do, if you're asking yourself that question, is to, one, never lose sight of that vision. Whatever that vision is that you see for yourself, hold on to that, because that's going to give you hope. That's going to help you get through those tough days. I was talking to one of the guys that I mentor, and he didn't do so well at the Olympic trials. I mean, he was discouraged. And, he just wasn't in the good state of mind at the time. And I just let him talk. I just let him speak because I've been there. I've been to 2 Olympic Games. I've had some ups in it and I've had some downs in it. So I understand the emotion. And so I asked him a simple question. I said, now what? And he just paused a little bit and he said, I'm not sure. I said, that's okay. I said, do you think that you can make this team? He says, absolutely. I said, do you believe that you can make this team? He says, absolutely. I said, are you willing to give it another go? He said, absolutely. And I said, the feeling that you have right now, the feeling of discouragement, the feeling of falling short, I need you to carry that with you, but also carry the experience with you. Because everything that you go through in life, even if it doesn't come your way or go your way, you have the experience with it. And when you gain the experience, you'll be able to handle the circumstances better. Because experience is a great teacher, even if we don't have a successful experience with it. Because I realized that, as my trainer used to say when I was playing football, Drew Robertson, he used to say, in life, you either learn what to do or what not to do. But we got to make adjustments. So I don't know what stage you're in right now, 6 months into the year. I'm sure and I'm hoping that some great things have happened for you so far. And I'm sure great things is in the works. And I want every single person listening to the podcast, every single person, to be prosperous in everything that they do. Now, there's going to be times when you ask yourself, now what? And when you ask yourself that question, do it with a comma, not a period. Because whatever you do with a comma beside it, you leave room for more. Now what isn't a statement that ends the story. When you ask yourself and say to yourself, now what? It's a comma to pause, because there is more to come. So for everyone listening to this, if you're an athlete getting ready for the Olympic trials, getting ready for combine or getting ready for a game, whatever it is, there's more. If you didn't make it this time, if you really want to pursue it again and continue pushing forward towards it, learn from the mistakes, learn from the things that didn't go right. Take that experience and put that into your training and your attitude. Don't let this be the moment that defines what happens in your career, because your mindset is what makes you a winner. Your mindset is what makes you a champion. And if you have a strong mind, the body will follow. But you put yourself in the right state of mind to be successful, and whatever is going to come will come. But do not let one moment define your career and what happens next. Because now what isn't the end of a statement, it's just the beginning. For those listening who are going through a tough time right now, your back is against the wall, you have to make a change in your life, you have to make some adjustments, you may be scared of doing some things, you may be uncertain doing some things, you're trying to break some things that have been happening in your family. Now what? And don't put a period there, put a comma, because there's more to come. There's more to the story. A lot of times in life, we don't have the answers to our questions initially, but that does not mean that we will not get those answers at the appointed time. And always remember this: delayed does not mean denied. I want to say it again because I want you to understand it. Delayed does not mean denied. And no matter what you do in life, never, ever, and I mean never, ever give up on you, and always believe in yourself and what you can achieve. I want to thank each of you for taking the time to listen to this week's episode of the podcast. As I said at the beginning, if you could do us a huge favor, head to Apple Podcasts, Apple iTunes, and leave a rating and review of the podcast. And you might as well share this episode with a friend. I appreciate you. Keep the faith, keep the strength, and stay encouraged. Hey, we'll see you next week.